Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Cultural Coast. I am so happy you're here with us. So, welcome to our love streaming. Welcome to my living room. And thank you for inviting me into yours. I'm Reverend Theresa Fieberts. And again, I'm just really happy that we're together this morning. Grateful that we're together this morning. Grateful for this thing called technology that allows us to continue to connect, continue to build community. And you can help us with that by sharing this link, inviting your friends, and helping us grow this community. We're growing a diverse and inclusive community. We're a welcoming community. And because of this pandemic and because of the presence of technology, we're actually able to connect with more people than we were when we were just meeting at the garden club. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that as a blessing. And for those of you that have been affected by COVID, whether you've contracted it yourself or loved ones, my heart goes out to you, and please do keep in touch with us about that. You know, we want to know how you are and what's going on in your swirl. And this is Science of Mind is a philosophy, a way of life that teaches that this is a creative and intelligent universe. It calls us to look beyond the patriarchal God sitting in the sky, judging and condemning, maybe what you grew up with. We believe and promote cause and effect. We believe in the law of attraction. We believe that we participate in this thing called life. We participate with spirit, energy, substance, source, God, whatever you choose to call it. We participate because we are inseparable with it. We are inseparable with it, with one another. Anytime we say, me and God and, I'm in duality. Remember that. This universe is interconnected, one, showing itself, multiplying itself diversely. And that's what we've been talking about all month long. We're talking about diversity, inclusion. That is our global theme. So centers all over the world are talking about these same concepts, and I love that. We began the month by looking at the wholeness within ourselves and how we don't want to fraction off, splinter off, hide or deny any part of ourselves, right? We want to be in the fullness of who and what we are, the richness of who and what we are. That means those things that we feel are less than, that we're not completely comfortable accepting about ourselves. Bring it in, embrace it all. That's who you are. That's who you are. And then we looked at our biases. We looked at conscious and unconscious biases and how they distort our thinking. They not only distort our thinking, but they influence our behaviors. And so we want to wake up to that because, again, we are participating in this thing called life. We're not just pawns here, right? We're working on this thing called evolution. It's an ongoing process that our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our actions influence, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. So then last week we talked about color blindness, what it is, and the possible unintended results, unintended consequences of our color blindness, which can be seen as a microaggression. It may seem subtle. It may, like I said, we may have good intentions by, say, color blindness, that we don't see color, that we see all people as one. But the truth is, our skin colors are different. Our gender is different. Our sexual orientation is different. Our political opinions are different. And we have different experiences in life. So color blindness would say, I'm not accepting that you have a different experience of life because your skin color may be different. So it's something for us to think about, right? So today we're looking at we're better together. We are better together, just like we accept the fullness, the allness of who and what we are individually. When we accept the fullness and the allness of who we are collectively, we rise, we are better. And we do that through love, through respect, for valuing our differences. So let's take this concept into prayer. Let's begin our time together this morning, realizing that there's one thing happening, only one thing ever happening, and that's that thing called life. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Allah, call it Buddha, call it, what's that Daniel Namad song? Just call it in. Call it into your embrace right here and right now, and recognize that fullness, that allness is here now. It is the very energy breathing me, breathing each one of us. It is the power pulsating in my lungs. It is moving the blood through my system. It is life itself. It's in the plant. It's in the stars. It's in the cosmos. It's everything. And I know that it is loving and supportive. It is loving and supportive for me now, for all of life. It is all of life expressing in a multitude, in an array of diversity, in beauty, in colors, in experiences, in sounds and sights that delight, and even those that make us constrict. It's all God. So I open myself to that realization this morning. And I let go of the idea and the need to judge, to categorize. I let it be. I lean in a little deeper, and I recognize the love that's available in my acceptance. The love that is available here and now. It's infinite, eternal, alive, present. As I accept it, to the degree that I accept it. So I speak my word here and now for myself, that I release anything that would block me from fully recognizing, realizing the love that is available within and all around me right here and right now. And I affirm and claim that same truth for each one of us. As we let go and let God. As we let go and lean in to the presence that always guides, always guards, is always good. This I know to be true. I claim it, I celebrate it, I release this word to the mind of God where I know it is already true. Thereby it has no option but to be true in form. I accept. Amen, and so it is. Yeah. So, thank you again for being with us. This morning, our guest musician was to be Mindy Simmons, and Mindy's dealing with some family issues this morning. Let us all please hold Mindy in love and our highest thoughts for Mindy, for her brothers, for her father, and for her entire family. Know that strength and love is with Mindy this morning. And so in Mindy's place, Bobby has agreed to step in, and of course, he didn't have far to travel to do that. So, so with that, I welcome Bobby over here. And where's your? You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Theresa. Thank you for that. Boy, thank you for that unifying, inclusive prayer. Just want to maintain that feeling of being one with everyone, one with all of us. And opening up with a song from Daniel Namad called What Kind of World, reminding us that we get to choose what kind of world we live in. What kind of world do I I want to see? What kind of world do I want to leave to my children's children? Now is the time to make up my mind, yeah. What kind of world is this gonna be? What kind of world will be my legacy to the generations for all humankind? It's time to decide what kind of world. Will it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful and kind? Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Oh yeah. Will everybody have enough? Will we speak in the language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it's all up to what you and I decide. What kind of world do we want to have? When will we be ready to start giving back to this precious place? To every young face, tell every boy and girl, what kind of world? Will it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful and kind? Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Oh yeah. Will everybody have enough? Will we speak in the language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it depends on what you and I decide. What kind of world do we want to have? When will we be ready to start being that for this precious place? For every young face, tell every boy and girl, what kind of world? Tell every boy and girl, what kind of world? Now we have a reading from Mike. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Bobby. Mike Rosario, your treasurer. Remember me, everyone? I'm the one that used to ask you for financial blessings at our center. Well, I'm back. Although today I'm not going to be asking you for financial support, that'll come later in the program. I am going to do a reading for you. And this was written by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker, two great people and leaders of our movement. By the way, Raymond Charles Barker is my favorite spiritual writer. His books are easy to read and not very lengthy, but very inspiring. So if you haven't done that, I recommend them very highly. This reading is in line with our theme today, Better Together. And here it goes. Those whom the earth has labeled great have been people who extended their thinking to include all nations and all races. Only people with petty minds indulge in racial hatred and distinctions. God's perfect idea of man is the basis for every living soul, and we must believe this and act as though it were so. When we dislike people or any groups, we are bearing witness to our small and limited viewpoints. The people in whom we fail to find good are born of the same mind, operate under the same law, and express the same life as we do. But our inability to see their divine origin is our self-created stumbling block. Often we're held back by our petty dislikes of other people. Jesus could include the whole world in his thoughts because he believed in a God who was in all and acting through all. The chosen people are those who have chosen to love their fellow beings and find good in all of them. Please join me now from within as I read this beautiful affirmation. I believe in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. No one is better than myself. No one is less good than myself. I live in God's universe filled with God's beloved people, and I cooperate with them in love. I hate no man or woman, and I dislike no one. I love the truth that expresses in every nationality, every race, and every creed. I extend my thinking to include them all in universal blessings. I know that every person is unfolding in spiritual understanding and growing in wisdom. Every person I meet today brings more of God to my remembrance. They bless me in interesting and loving ways. They enrich me with ideas of value. And so it is. Thank you all so much for joining us today. See you next week, and God bless.
Oh, thank you so much for that amazing reading, Mike. I love the reading, and I loved having you with us. Thanks for being with us. The next song is one you've heard Louis Armstrong do about what a wonderful world we live in. Again, because we make it so. I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. All right, thank you. And now
Woohoo!
time for
And the crowd
Theresa.
goes wild.
Thank you, Theresa.
We were discussing how to professionally do this segue. Was that good? Did that work? Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Mike and Bobby. The songs and the reading, perfect. Really, they said everything I want to say, and so maybe I don't need to talk, but I'm gonna anyway. As I said in the opening, all month long, we're talking about being diversively inclusive, including everything. And so ultimately, I'm leading up to how do we build that beloved community that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about. Well, we've been beginning to build all month long that beloved community in our hearts and our minds as we open to these ideals of inclusivity. And next week, I want to really look at what we can do to be more diverse and inclusive. And so I'm going to give you a prompt at the very end of this morning to send me an email. Send me an email and let me know your thoughts around that. You can put it in the chat too. I do go back and look at those. Sometimes it's not until Monday because I'm teaching on Sunday afternoons now. But let me know. Let me know what thoughts you have around this. You know, as Mike read the words of Raymond Charles Barker and Dr. Ernest Holmes, they make it clear, don't they? They made it very clear that we need to retreat from our petty fault finding and even outright hatred. And, you know, Science of Mind teaches this. We teach, I find, you know, ways to say, hopefully say it a little different every Sunday, but we teach about unity, that unity is the basis of life. It's the basis for all there is. There's one thing happening, as my opening prayer stated. There's one thing happening. This is a primary principle in this teaching. So inclusivity is a natural spiritual state for us, right? Inclusivity would be a natural state. So when I fail to see another person's divine origin, as Mike read, that is my self-created stumbling block. Amen, Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker and Mike Rosario. Yeah, those are my self-created stumbling blocks, because all thoughts, all words, all deeds, all actions are the foundations either for our blessings or for our troubles. That's Science Mind 101. All thoughts, we read this in the Science Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes said, all thoughts are cause, all ideas are cause, all effects must have a creator, which is cause. So if you're seeing divisions, if you're focused on the divisions, if you're focused and engaged in the battle du jour, whatever it is, if you're complaining and fault finding, if you're stuck in judgment and condemnation, just know you're creative. You are being creative. Again, Ernest Holmes, he said, our ideas are real. Our ideas are real. You know, we like to say that everything's created twice. Once in mind, then in form. Our ideas are real, just as our feelings are real. They all have power. So, blessings abound for those of us, the chosen ones, right? Not because we're special, because we've chosen to love. Because we choose to love instead of hate. You know, we're in our political season. I'm going to invite all of us, myself included. When I speak to you, I speak to myself too. You know, they say that the teacher teaches what they need to learn. We need to check our righteousness. We need to check our righteousness. So, how best will we move forward? You know, is it by force? Is it that the strongest, the richest, the loudest, the whiniest win? I don't think you believe that, and nor do I. There's another way, right? And so the key element to this other way, I believe, is love and respect and value. Placing value on everyone. Placing value, inherent value on everyone. And as we do that, we recognize that love attracts love, just as hate attracts more hatred. Our fixations on what's wrong with the society, what's wrong with that group, what's wrong with how they behave, how they're reacting, responding, whatever, it attracts more. It attracts more. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree. I'm not saying that. But our focus doesn't have to remain on the pain, right? We're better together. Let's help one another do this. Love attracts, it heals, it transforms. Without love, we become divided. Consciously or unconsciously, we create our own problems. Let us have a commitment to diversity inclusion, because I believe that is a natural success story. A natural success story. And this morning we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at a success story of diversity inclusion from a very unlikely place. A movie, and even more unlikely, a movie of a farm. I'm going to talk to you about The Biggest Little Farm. This was an experiment that proved successful. A experiment, that was not without its stumbling blocks, right? So I wish I was sitting in the room with you and I could see a show of hands of how many people saw that movie. Yeah, I've seen it twice now, and Bobby and I watched it just a few nights ago. So that was my second show of it. It's fabulous. It tracks an 8-year journey, but the farm's still going on. It tracked an 8-year journey of inception to create a biodiverse farm on more than 200 acres in Southern California. Now, biodiversity, let's look at that word just for a moment, is the variety of life found on Earth. We're combining the word biology and diversity, and so it is the plants, the animals, the fungi, the microorganisms. It's the whole shebang, right? And so they were seeking the highest level of biodiversity possible on this farm. They started with 100 baby chicks, a bull, some sheep, a pregnant pig, and they learned through this experiment. They learned that everything, everyone, even the coyotes that were eating the chickens, have value. Everything had value. The ground cover, the gophers that ate the ground cover, the birds that ate the fruit, the poop that was left by all of them. The poop was a value. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Isn't that also an economic investment? It's an economic practice where the idea is that you get the highest return with the least amount of risk when you diversify. Diversification works precisely because the assets, all the players, react differently. It's the differences. That make us better, that make us stronger, that make us wiser. It's the differences. We're stronger together. Here's another example. A wire rope starts with one single steel wire, and then several other wires are wrapped around it, right, to form a strand. And the number of wires in a strand depends on the job that it's going to do. And the rope performs more and stronger the more diversity is brought into it. It's the coming together that strengthens us. Our inclusion, then, of more and different cultures, views, individualized expressions of humanity create expanded, stronger, and more effective communities. So, let's go back to the farm for a minute. They were learning that, quote, diversity leads to simplicity. Now, this was very interesting to hear because there was all kinds of apparent chaos going on. I mean, the loss of animal life like you wouldn't believe, and things not working out the way that they thought it would work out. But over time, What was first difficult emerged as a cycle of harmony on that farm. And it became easier to maintain. The farm became a habitat. And what is a habitat? It's a natural environment. It's a natural environment that allows for growth. It's a natural environment that I'm going to say allows for the freedom of expression. It allowed these organisms, no matter what they were, whether they were the barn owls or the gophers or the gopher snakes or the little bugs, it allowed for all of them the freedom of expression to do what they do. And a harmony grew out of it. What they found was, quote, intent alone is not a protector. So this is important. Within that habitat, it wasn't just their intention for it to all work. It required a process of kind of trial and error. They protected the chickens from the coyotes by fencing them and allowing them a little fenced walkway to run into their house and be protected. And nature took over from there, and the coyotes found the gophers, which had been eating the ground cover. Ha, yeah. And all of this happened as they observed and responded. So remember last week when I was talking about color blindness, and I said, intent does not always equal impact. I repeated that in another form this morning already. So that's why we continue to talk about this subject, because people of color are experiencing real pain, oppression, death, illness, incarceration at a greater rate than other people in our country. So there's a complexity within the diversity on the farm and in our society. And it requires us to learn and to grow in our learning. But here's the joy, here's the comfort, here's the remembrance, is that complexity is alive within the realm of infinite possibilities, right? It's alive within the realm of infinite possibilities. And this is something they stated in the movie, which I found so exciting because that really is a new thought. So they went on to say that the owners of the farm went on to say that they had to become comfortable with a certain level of disharmony. Right now, many of us are uncomfortable. We're uncomfortable with this conversation. We're uncomfortable with the rioting. We're uncomfortable with the news around the rioting. We're uncomfortable. And you know what? We may be uncomfortable while we work this out. We may be, especially white people, may be uncomfortable while we work this out. But this is, I believe, right now, our highest spiritual work. This is our spiritual work. And you know, there's a handful of us in this community that are taking the nonviolent communication course. And that's spiritual work. It's good spiritual work to lean in and wonder, what is someone's need? Why are they acting out or saying or doing what they're doing? What is their need? How can I understand that? How can I have empathy for that? I want to ask you to let me know. Again, I want your feedback, and I want your feedback if you're interested in taking this course. She limits the number of people so that we can have a good conversation when we get together, and we get together weekly, and it's online. And the class ended last week. She's going to start a new one, and we're going to have an ongoing support group too. So let me know if you're interested in that, so I have an idea to let Lynn know how many people. All right. You know who Richard Rohr is? Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest. He's our monk priest, Franciscan priest. He is a mystical voice for Christians and non-Christians today. And he said this: unless you have some roots in a spiritual practice that holds life sacred and encourages joyful communication with all your fellow beings, facing the enormous challenges ahead of us becomes nearly impossible unless we have a spiritual practice that holds everyone as sacred. I believe that we need to rise up to our best selves within ourselves to recognize our own worth and that of the person next to us, or the person across the street, or the person across the aisle or the world. You know, dropping our I'm right and you're wrong, dropping that tired, antagonistic way of being, to reach across the aisle, as we hear in political parlance, to develop a real cooperative spirit about ourselves, an attitude with life that we cooperate with life. You know, I talk frequently about being in a place of non-resistance, and about any time that we are in resistance, we are blocking love. That's one of those self-created blocks. We want to include everyone at the table. So again, Richard Rohr, he goes on to say that the life pouring through us, pumping our hearts, breathing through our lungs, did not begin at our birth or conception. He said, it's like every particle and every atom and molecule of our body. It's like this life that's in us goes back through time to the very first splitting and spinning of the stars. That's how connected we are. That's how valuable we are. That's how important we are. There is an inherent, rich, deep kinship that we have with life itself, that we have with each other, that we have with all life. And regardless of where you were born, what language you speak, if you were born into poverty or wealth, or the color of your skin, or your sexual orientation, or your political party affiliation, understanding and embracing this kinship is how we become better together. Yes? We're strengthened. We grow, we develop, we are better together. We enrich the soil upon which we rely, the earth soil. Together we meet God in a unique and beautiful and different way than maybe we express. We may have had a lifetime of categorizing and compartmentalizing. That's what humans seem to do. You know, this, not this. Categorizing and compartmentalizing, judging and condemning ourselves or others. And I suppose that comes from that patriarchal view of God up in heaven as judging and condemning, heaven condemning us to heaven and hell. And as I opened with, that's not our belief. Our belief is in cause and effect. Our belief is in our participation. But when we stay stuck in that judging and condemning, we're creating within ourselves not only the stumbling block, but we're creating a false sense of superiority, right? Like Mike read, I'm not better than another, and I'm not lesser than another either. But Richard Rohr calls this a seed of division when we have that idea of superiority, a seed of division. We must uproot, no matter how subtle those seeds are, and replace them with seeds of love and respect and value. Just as they discovered on The Biggest Little Farm, everything ultimately added value. And it took their acceptance, it took their trust in that process. It really took a great deal of trust in the process because they didn't see it in the beginning. It took their acceptance of the process to allow a harmonious state of growth and equilibrium to emerge, and it did emerge. The last visual from the movie is is contrasting the first visual, really, one of the first. We see them get to the farm and they start looking at what the possibilities are there. They have this big idea, this big vision, this big dream, and they go to grab the dirt. And it's hard, it's lifeless, it's dry, it's like huge clumps of dry, lifeless dirt. And through their efforts, at the end of the movie, we see this rich, fertile soil. We see this life-giving soil. We see infinite possibilities for continued endless growth and expansion. That, my friends, is what's possible when we embrace each other as value, as holding value. My affirmation that I leave with you this morning is affirming that I am the activity of inclusion, that I embrace the multiplicity of creation as a community expressing diversity, or divinity rather, on earth. And I'm affirming this for myself and for you, that our faith and our acceptance in one another, in love, in life itself, is rich and fruitful, and that we do continue to grow from this knowing and this awareness. Thank you. Namaste.
Oh, thank you, Theresa. Thank you for that. All right, my last, my next song is a song from Greg Tamblyn, and again, talking about what Theresa just talked about. This song is called "All These Atoms," and when I find page 2, I'm going to play it. All these atoms, and it's talking about we're literally, all of us, everything in the world, all of us is made out of the same stuff, all these atoms. Not only are we made out of the same stuff, but we share as we grow, as we live, we share those atoms. You breathe out, I breathe in, we're sharing molecules again, oxygen and hydrogen, but do you know where your atoms have been? Parts of me were once in you, Genghis Khan and Hitler too, Jesus Christ and dinosaurs, Princess Di and dinosaurs. All these atoms everywhere circle back so we can share. No escaping, yes it's true, parts of me were once in you. My whole body smooth and hairy, really very temporary. Every year a new epidermis, maybe next year's will be firmer. There's some atom somewhere in Spain I could use back in my brain. They stay a while and then they leave. They only fit what we conceive. All Circle back so we can share, like some ever-changing brew. Parts of me are now in you. As hard as it might seem to be, parts of you were once a tree, once a fish in the primal soup. Something's dinner, something's poop. 15 billion years ago, the Big Bang was quite a show. All this time and now here we are, but parts of you were once a star. All these atoms everywhere, circle back so we can share. No escaping, yes it's true, parts of me were once in you. All these atoms here on earth get recycled, death to birth, like some ever-changing brew. Parts of me are now in you. All these atoms we've collected only mean that we're connected, since we share what we're made of. Don't you think that calls for love? Since we share what we're made of, don't you think that calls for love?
Hey, that was awesome. I love that song. Thank you, Gray Tamblin, and thank you, Bobby, for that. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
super fun. Um, yeah, that's great. So it's our time of giving, and thank you so much. Just from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for continuing to support this ministry so we can do what we're called to do and we can still connect in some form. Uh, Different than what we used to, but I still feel such great value. And as I said earlier, we have more people coming on and we have more ways of connecting. And so all that is of great, great value. So right now, Evan is posting the 4 ways that you can contribute to this ministry. And if you're on YouTube, those ways are on under the description. And Evan is also going to post for us the Ernest Holmes Affirmation of Abundance that we've been reading here for months now. And I encourage you each Sunday to read that aloud with us and read it, really put the power in your word and know that that is creative and know it's creative for yourself. And as you have this expansive feeling of inclusion, that it's true for everyone everywhere. It's not just true for me. If it is true for me, it is true for you. It is true for everyone, and we want everyone everywhere to have good and be supported. And we know that that's quite possible, right? We know that there's infinite supply. So join me. Good and more good is mine.
An ever-increasing good is mine.
There is no limit to the good which is mine.
Everywhere I go, I see this good, I feel it, I experience it.
It crowds itself against me, flows through me, and expresses itself in me, and multiplies itself around me. And join us in singing too. You know the song by now.
I receive the gift of life and pass it on. I receive the gift of love and pass it on. I receive the gift of joy and pass it on. I receive all good and pass it on. I receive the gift of life and pass it on. I receive the gift of love and pass it on. I receive the gift of joy and pass it on. I receive all good and pass it on.
Just a reminder that we on Thursday evenings, Julie Birch leads our meditation. We have ongoing classes. New classes will open up probably in October, maybe near the end of September, but more likely October. And watch for that email. I talked about it last week, and we didn't get it put together yet. So watch for that email about in-person and online gatherings, for a way for us to socially connect. We're gonna have that out to you real soon, and also more information about the directory. That's gonna start up here real soon. And as I reminded you, or I stated in the beginning of my talk, I want you to give me your feedback on how you think we could be a more diverse and inclusive community. And so at the very end of the service, I'm going to put up my email address, and I want you to send me an email and let me know, or again, put it in the chat. But let's do this. Let's do it. Let's step up. Let's be proactive. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen and go post our social time, our Zoom link for the social time too, that begins right after the service ends for an hour. Okay. Love you. Love you.
Love you.
Mike, love you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
yes.
being with us.
Yes, and if you would like prayer support, please email prayer@cslculturalcoast.org. Please email us and let us know. Let us know your input. And let's close with Let It Shine. There's a light at the center of everyone. It can light up the world just like the sun. There's a flame within us that can light our way. It can burn away the darkness of a troubled day. Let it shine, let it shine. Let your light shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let your light shine. Whenever you see darkness, you've got to know that the light is within you. Everywhere you go, whatever you are facing, whatever's on your mind, you can help illuminate it. Let your light shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let your light shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let your light shine. Let it shine.